Hey guys, welcome back to Small Trees. Today I have a couple more trees to show you. One is kind of a small update on one of our earlier projects. The other one is just a good example of why I do my work the way I do it. This spring is going to be full of really interesting information and videos. I have a kind of a secret project that I'm going to release as well. So if you enjoy what you're seeing, you want to see more, please don't forget to subscribe. I really do appreciate it. This is a tree that was planted last year, kind of as an afterthought. It didn't have any root work done to it, and during last year's growing season, it grew from being roughly pencil sized to what you see now. It's in the way of the trunk fusion clump that you see next to it, so I'm going to dig it and relocate it. The music you hear in the background is Purple Cat's new album called Distant Worlds. It just dropped a couple days ago. If you like it, I'll leave info for it in the description. Like I mentioned, this particular seedling didn't have the care put into it like most of the other trees I plant. It was one of the last ones to go into the ground, and I didn't have a good place for it, so I just kind of put it right here. I'm trying to remove it without disturbing the clump next to it, but as you can see, I'm having a lot of difficulty. This is because the roots have grown pretty much straight down instead of horizontally like we would prefer. After struggling with the tree for a few minutes, I decided to dig the clump so that I could get this one out of the ground and out of the way. I'll show you how the clump looks in just a few minutes. As you can tell, this one came out of the ground way more easily than the other tree. We'll come back to it in a minute. For now, let's get the other tree out of the ground. Now that I have a little more room, I should be able to get under the tree and remove it. As you can tell, it is much more difficult to remove this tree than the clump. This really is not a good sign for what may lie beneath the soil surface. Now that it's finally out of the ground, I'm just going to wash the roots with this barrel of rainwater to quickly get a look at what we have to work with. As you can see, this is far from an ideal Nebari. There are roots emerging from several different levels, and most of the roots are growing downward. I'm going to speed up the cleanup process, but the goal here is to get the roots all emerging from the same height and to remove all crossing and downward growing roots. This will set the Nebari up for improvement, although this work could have been avoided had the tree been tended to like all my others. On big downward growing roots that we can't fully remove, I will perform an undercut, which just means that I will cut the root at an angle to make it flat, and then apply rooting powder to the cut in hopes that new roots will form and then grow at the angle that we desire. Apply rooting powder to the roots we've cut so that we can hopefully have new roots grow here and start a flat Nebari. Finally, make sure to cover wounds with wound putty. Duct sealant mixed with neem oil can be used as a cheap alternative. This looks a lot better than it did when we started. For now, it will go into a pot and then into the greenhouse. When spring draws a little closer, it will be planted back in the growing beds. Now, since I had to dig the clump anyway, let's see how it's progressed. If you go back and remember, the goal of this project is to have several seedlings planted through the same tile and then let them grow enough to fuse together at the base, theoretically yielding a large base in a short period of time. The footage you see here was taken about this time last year, and it's of the same clump that we're looking at today. As you can see, we've had a lot of growth in one season. You can see that some of the trunks have begun to fuse, and I think that 1 or 2 more seasons of growth will yield a fully fused base. We will then select 1 or more trunks and begin to build the branches. You may also notice that the majority of the roots emanating from these trees are radial. This is because once or twice during last year's growing season, I carefully raked out the newly forming roots. I wasn't really sure if this would make a difference, but it appears to have worked, and this will go a long way towards making the base of this tree believable after all of the fusing is finished. The real point of today's video was just to show you how much easier it is to start a tree's roots correctly rather than to ignore them and have to deal with them later. You can still make a good tree out of one that hasn't been worked properly, but it's generally a lot more effort. I still have several trees that I've worked on that I haven't yet made videos for. I'll try to get these done and uploaded soon to keep you guys engaged until spring. As always, if you have any questions, you can comment below as I answer every comment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time.